Hi everyone, I'm Nee.
And I'm Renee.
And we're
keeping up with the Darkos.
So today we're going to be doing our first ever video review. We're going to be reviewing Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar system.
So the EveryDollar system basically comes from Dave Ramsey's recommendation that every dollar in your budget have a name.
Right. So for those who have been following our blogs, you all know that we're recently married and we've combined our incomes. We are using joint accounts and we're also budgeting. Currently right now, the budgeting plan that we use is we have an Excel document and we use it in a spreadsheet manner. And then we're also starting to use the envelope system. So we thought that we could try the Dave Ramsey electronic system for you all to see if it's something that's worth trying out or using.
Yeah, so we wanted to use this system to see whether or not it would help us to adjust the budget that we're currently using to see if we could maximize the number of dollars that we're using in our everyday life. So for our loans or for our everyday expenses.
Right. So one caveat to note is that there are two versions of this system. There is a free version and is also a paid version. The free version, you basically just input your monthly expenses and transactions, and it just keeps track of it, versus a paid version that actually will connect to your bank account. It will download all of your transactions from whichever bank that you have, and it will actually do the budgeting for you automatically.
Right. So we're going to actually be trialing the free version, and then we'll see whether or not the paid version is something that we want to invest in. So watch the video and you'll see, again, like I said, we're going to be trying the free version for you, and hopefully you'll see how easy and maybe not so easy the system is.
Okay, so let's get started and stick around. So we have created our login and password, and now we are at the first screen that you will see once you get into EveryDollar. As you can see, you have here, let's plan our first budget. We are in April, and on the left-hand column, we have two categories. There's the category which is the budget. That's brings us to the page that we're in currently. And then the next category is baby steps, which lists all the baby steps, which are 7 that Dave Ramsey talks about. And you can go through all 7 baby steps in this section. But let's go back to the budget section and let's begin.
So click on Start My First Budget. And you'll see that there are several categories with several line items under each category. And this system actually does a pretty good job at covering what your typical household budget will look like. So if you start to add, you can actually change your line items to exactly what you would want to label them. So let's say you're inputting your income. Let's say it's a two income household, and the husband makes, let's say, $2,500, and you want to add wife, and let's say she also makes $2,500, right? Equal pay for women. So your total income is $5,000 to this budget.
So next, you go down to the different sections below income, and these are your actual expenses. So your savings, even though it's an emergency fund, this is actually going to be deducted from your income in this budget. So an emergency fund, let's say you are saving $500. That's how much you plan to put towards your emergency fund in the beginning of the month. Now we're going to go down to different sections, which I think EveryDollar does a good job of already listing the majority of categories that I think a household would have. So you can see there's one for a house, there's one for transportation, obviously for food, lifestyle, and small things such as pet care, clothing, child care, and insurance and tax. And there's even a section for debts like loans, credit cards, car payments. You all know it. You all have it. So let's go back to let's go back to housing. So for us, we don't have a mortgage. We're actually renting. The thing that's very useful about this is you can easily erase and put in your proper category. So we've taken out mortgage and put in rent, and we're going to put a fictitious number. Let's say our rent is $500 a month. We actually don't have HOA dues, so we're going to show you how quickly you can just remove a section from your category. And we just click on the side. There's a garbage can there, and we click yes, delete, and it's gone.
Right. So the other thing you should notice is that if you look up top, your income is actually decreasing by the amount of expenses that you're planning for your budget. Again, these are planned expenses. So you can see here and here, this is all planned. So this is all what you're planning to use. So as you can see, we placed all of our planned expenses into each of the line items, and we have about 1,550 left to go. So let's put that remaining towards our debt. And so let's say your student loan debt is $1,000 per month, and your credit card, let's say, is $200 per month, and your car loan is $350 per month. And you can see it's an every dollar budget. So basically every dollar has a name in your budget.
So now that you have your zero-based budget, how do we account for this as the month goes by? So the way how this program works is now we actually have to start entering transactions. So let's start with the car loan. So from this screen, we just click and add new. We click the transaction button, and we enter in the amount.
So we said that the car loan was $350.
Yes. So we put in the amount. We put in the date that we're going to be paying this, which is the 6th of April, and then we put in the merchant, which would be car company or whatever car company that you're paying your loan to, and then you hit add expense. It brings you back to your budget, and you can see it says so far you've paid off $350. One thing about this program that I like is if you look carefully right to the left of $350, you can see there's a green arrow and there's a blue arrow. If you click on one, it'll switch the entire column to how much you actually spent. And then if you click on it again, you can see it'll go between spent and remaining. However, in the debt section, as well as if you go up to the income section, no matter if you hit those arrows or not, it doesn't change. So the income as well as the debt section doesn't change when you hit the arrows.
Okay, so I just input all of the expenses, the actual expenses, and you can see it here on the right side that this is basically these are basically all the transactions that were made throughout the month. So what I did find was that inputting all of the transactions were just a little bit tedious. So I'll do the last two for you. Now what I would have liked was if there was just kind of like a check mark to say, did you spend $200? Yes. And then that be it. And you can see here, again, this is $350. I would have liked here if they had just had a check mark that said, did you spend $350? Yes. Or if I didn't have to go to another screen to add a new transaction, maybe if they had used this box to just say, okay, well, how much did you pay? And I could input right here, $350. That I think would have made it a little more user friendly, but that's okay for now. And that's that. So you can see if everything matches up. In other words, if you stay exactly on budget, what you planned, now I'm going to the right, what you planned is for your income of $5,000. What you spent was on point, $5,000, so you're in the green. And what's remaining is zero because every single dollar went to something.
So let's say that you're just starting out and you're not perfect and you happen to spend a little bit more than what you actually planned for. So let's take the scenario of you spent a little bit more on gas or on the oil change. You went with a higher premium gas or a higher premium oil, and you spent a little bit more than what you anticipated in the budget. So instead of $300, let's say we spent $500. And that must be some good oil. Okay, so as you can see, we still have $300 that we planned for in the beginning of the month, but now onto the right column where it said spent, we actually ended up spending $500. If you click the arrow and go to remaining, you can see now what was once just in, which was once just in zeros, is now actually minus $200. So we have gone above and beyond the budget, and we're actually in the red now. And actually, you could also see there's a little red line that's underneath this section also.
So if you go to your planned on the right again, if you go to your planned budget was for an income of $5,000. Your spent now is $5,200 because you went over by $200 on your gas. And what you have remaining is minus $200. It is no longer $0 because you went over again by $200.
So pretty straightforward, very easy to stay on budget. But if you do get out of budget, it's pretty fairly easy to let you know that hey, you're outside the realms of your projected or planned budget.
So now that we've finished reviewing the EveryDollar system, here are our thoughts. So what'd you think, Nee?
So I actually liked the program. I thought that the user interface was very simple. And obviously it being free is a big plus for me. But one of the things that I didn't like about it is once you entered in your budgeting and your items and your expenses, that's pretty much it. It's going to give you a graph on the right hand side that basically graphs everything that you've put down on the left hand side, which is very useful. But in terms of doing some type of analysis and making some recommendations, you're not going to get that with this type of system. For me, before we got married, I used mint.com, which I found to be actually very useful. And some of the big pros of it were, obviously it's free. It does the same things that the Dave Ramsey EveryDollar system does. And also you can add your banking information which is, it doesn't cost anything. So those are big pluses also. The big things that I don't like about mint.com are the advertisements. So comparing that to the Dave Ramsey system, that's one big advantage that the Dave Ramsey system has over mint.com is the lack of advertisements. So overall, I give it a 2 thumbs up. I enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to using it again.
Yeah. So I agree with most of that. I think that the system actually works really well in terms of its simplicity. It's very, very simple to use. The interface is very user-friendly. I think that the small amount of analysis that it does in terms of just kind of breaking down the percentage of your income which is being used for certain expenses is potentially a good incentive for people to realize how much money they're actually putting towards their debt.
Right.
So
Exactly.
if you realize, for example, 52% of your 52% of your income is going towards debt, then that might actually incentivize you to say, hey, you know, I'm in a lot of debt. Maybe I should decrease this sooner rather than later. So I like that about the system. I also did use mint.com.
I think I signed you up, actually.
Yeah, you did. I think you did sign me up for mint.com. And what I noticed about mint.com and the free version of Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar is that with mint.com, even a free version, you can link to your bank account.
Right.
Now, the free version of Dave Ramsey's EveryDollar, you cannot link to your bank account. And I think that would have probably made it a little more of an attractive system to use if you could have done that using a free system. But you know, it's a brand spanking new system, so who knows, you know, with technology and upgrades and things like that, if that will change. The other thing about Dave Ramsey's system is that I know right now it's only useful on computers and iPhones, and they are going to be coming out with the Android app. So I'm pretty excited about that because we both are
big Android users.
Yeah.
So we are looking and hoping for the day when the engineers at DaveRamsey.com come out with the version that works on an Android.
Yeah.
But it looks as though we both are on a positive, 2 thumbs up. Well, technically 4 thumbs up for the EveryDollar system. Stay tuned. We're going to have more reviews, not just on the Dave Ramsey EveryDollar system, but other reviews on other products and just our thoughts and our trials and tribulations through this process of budgeting and getting ourselves out of debt.
Yeah.
So with that, once again, I'm Nee.
And I'm Renee.
And we're
keeping up with the Darkos, and we are in pursuit of financial peace, marital bliss, and career